This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KFI, Mr. Mo Kelly. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. No video simulcast tonight. No video simulcast. We'll be back with that on Tuesday. And I say Tuesday because Monday there will be no Later with Mo Kelly because of the Chargers broadcast. Just want to let you know, no Later with Mo Kelly on Monday because of the Chargers broadcast. No video simulcast tonight or Monday, but it'll be back on Tuesday. Got to tell you, I'm glad this week is over. It was a long week. It was a tense week. It was a taut week. And of course, that has to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk and all that's come with it. I did a lot of news media this week, a lot. And I had one of my interviews, a portion was like 1 minute of a 10-minute conversation on KTLA. I posted it on my Instagram and Later with Mo Kelly Instagram, and I had KFI collab, and they sent it out as well. And y'all went apoplectic, lost y'all damn mind. It is, when I say it's hilarious, it's ha-ha sad how people in this time are so determined, without evidence, without facts, without confirmation. They want to blame this person. They want to blame that group. They want to say, Mo, why didn't you condemn the Democrats? Well, we didn't even have a shooter in custody. Who am I supposed to condemn? I condemn political violence all the time. Anyone who has ever known me, I have never been a proponent of any violence. I have never excused any violence, ever. But for some reason, you thought that I was somehow okay with this type of violence against Charlie Kirk. No, not even close. I got a podcast to prove it. But you saw a clip of me on KTLA, and I wasn't going hard on the Democrats, that somehow I was excusing us. And people, I'm going to take a moment here because this is real important. People don't understand what it is I do and who I am. I give analysis. I don't talk my personal politics. I never have. And that's part of the reason why I'm asked to do BBC, KTLA, Spectrum News. I give analysis, context, history, facts, and I talk about what is going on. How can we relate it to history? What can we look to this as emblematic of, or what may happen in the future? That's what I do. I don't get on there to advocate for or anyone. I mean, I talk about immigration, but I don't talk about my personal politics with immigration. I talk about methods and tactics. I say whether I think this is right or this is wrong, not what I want. I've never endorsed any candidate on this show. You've never heard me say a kind word about Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Karen Bass. And I mention this, and you may get a kick out of this, Mark Ronner, specifically.
I kind of want to stay out of it.
No. Just because it has to do with the newsroom.
Okay.
I was talking to Michael Monks, KFI reporter. And he usually will answer the phone in the newsroom when people call, the news tip hotline, KFI News on a half hour, an hour and a quarter, whenever it breaks, whatever the slogan is. And then someone, I guess, was so angry at me, called in to the news hotline. Michael Monks answered, and I guess said something to the effect of, I didn't hear the call, so I'm just relaying it. Said something to the effect of, why does KFI hire a liberal like Mo Kelly? I don't know if that was his voice, but that's how I envision it. Very angry. Now, number one, why would you think calling the news hotline was going to get me fired, or that your complaint was going to matter in any way? Yeah, it got to me. Heard your complaint. Got news for you. I'll be here on Tuesday. Eventually, I will no longer work at KFI, but it's not going to be tonight.
What would people do if we started calling up where they work?
How did you know I was getting ready to go there?
Sorry.
No, it's okay because that's the obvious and logical response. And number one, that's number one. And number two, how did you think that was going to change anything? How did you think that was going to effectuate any type of change? How did you think that a business was supposed to hire relative to your conception of who they should hire? And Mark, you and I have had conversations off air. Twala, you and I have had conversations for years. If they actually talked to me and they actually spent any time with me, they would know some things about me and my personal politics, which are about as far away from liberals you can get. As far away. Let me be just completely transparent. I've never advocated for trans people. I've never advocated for undocumented immigrants. I talk about the things which are unfair. I talk about the things which are right and wrong. But I've never taken any stance about, well, this is what we need to do for trans rights. This is not what we need to do for gay rights. This is what we need to do for undocumented. You've never heard that out of my mouth. Ever, ever, ever. I talk about the issues. I talk about the things which I think, this is what we were told. This is what we were sold regarding illegal immigration and ICE enforcement. They are not doing that. And I have a fundamental problem with certain methods and tactics. I have a fundamental problem with, for example, trans athletes trying to play in sports, not their biological gender. That is completely different from what I feel about certain communities or certain policies. I have never talked about my personal politics, and that's intentional and has nothing to do with KFI. It's because that's my brand and allows me to do CNN, Spectrum, KTLA, KNBC, Fox 11, C-SPAN, done them all. Why? Because they know that they can count on me for analysis. And here's another thing. Wall Street Journal, y'all owe some motherfuckers some apologies for that BS reporting you put out about the shooter being trans or having trans ideology. And if you ran with that stuff, you owe them an apology as well, whoever else did, because that was fundamentally wrong. And that's a perfect example of you want to get the story right, not just say some things because you're wish casting that you want to place blame on someone. Oh, yeah, I'm on one tonight. Y'all got me going tonight. Had my video go viral on KTLA and everything, and y'all want something to say. And I try to tell people all the time, I'm willing to dialogue with you. I'm willing to engage with you. I'm really willing to trade with you. But if you want to be disrespectful and name call, I'm just going to block you. Well, I'm going to talk about you, probably talk about your mama, and then block you. But understand, it's my house. And if you're going to come to my house and you want to talk to me in my house, you're going to act like you have some home training, or I'm going to put you out. So if you're going to come to my house at Mr. Mo Kelly on Instagram, at Mr. Mo Kelly on Facebook or wherever else, mind your P's and Q's. Act like you got some home training. Act like you have some manners. Because if you come at me sideways in a way that you wouldn't even think of as being appropriate in person, I tell people all the time, if you talk to me like we're on the street, then I'm going to respond like we're on the street. If you talk to me with respect, then you get that in return. I will give you exactly what you give. Okay? All right. Mark Ronner?
Ready when you are.
Woosah.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Mr. Mo Kelly. It's Later with Mo Kelly, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. No video simulcast tonight. It'll be back on Tuesday. But I did want to let you know about this. We often talk about 7-Eleven. We have a lot of fun disparaging 7-Eleven. I have a lot of fun clowning Twala for daring to walk into a 7-Eleven supposedly just to get some coffee or that day-old pizza, which has been moving in circles behind the cash register, or those taquitos or whatever. I have a lot of fun talking mess about Twala because I say it's too dangerous to walk into a 7-Eleven, or at least walk into a 7-Eleven here in America. I have told you many times, like as I travel, I always look for a 7-Eleven to see if they're similar, different, if they're the crime magnets that they happen to be here in California and the United States more generally. When I was in Korea last June, they had 7-Elevens everywhere. Let me say this. 7-Eleven is a worldwide brand. They have them everywhere, specifically in Japan. But when I was in Korea, you could see them. They were cleaner. They had different items that they offered, and it was something that I think people were fine with using. That's not the case here in California. It's very different. I've never been to Japan. I hope to go this next summer. But Japan, their 7-Elevens, we've talked about this before, are very different from 7-Elevens around the world. It's more of an upscale or semi-upscale dining experience where they have fresh food, they have real food, and the emphasis is on food as opposed to some general convenience store where you get taquitos and maybe oil for your car. It's a different experience. And the Japanese parent company of 7-Eleven is ready to invest billions of dollars specifically to bring the Japanese style of 7-Eleven to the United States, where they want to push Japanese quality fresh food and have more of an upscale feel and experience. I don't know what that would look like in America. I don't know whether America would be open to what the pictures that I see, at least on the internet, regarding what happens in a 7-Eleven in Japan. 7-Eleven has a brand here in the United States. It's perceived one way. It's not perceived as high quality food. I don't know if they can shake that brand association.
I believe that the redesign that they are planning, and they're talking about overhauling every single 7-Eleven in the United States, or else you will have to shut down. You can no longer be a 7-Eleven if you are unable to rebrand. They're talking about selling them to all brands, maybe make them Circle K's or whatever, but they are demanding that the 7-Elevens in the U.S. change, and they want them to look more like, imagine, like the food area at Whole Foods or, something like that, where you go in and you think, wow, this is actually something I will stop by and purposely go to get lunch. Not I'm in a hurry and I just got gas or whatever. I'm here to get some coffee and, oh yes, look at these day old donuts. I'll get that too. No, they want it to be fresh.
I think they need to take and who am I? I'm not a billionaire. I've never run $1 billion company, but I do think there are lessons to be learned in the business world from this. I think they should take a page out of the automotive industry's book. What I mean by that is Honda didn't try to do upscale cars. They had a different brand and line, Acura. Toyota, the same with Lexus. Nissan, Infiniti, if I'm not mistaken. So you could at least mentally separate. Yeah, it's the same company, but it's positioned and it targets a completely different market segment. If you still call it all 7-Eleven, it's 7-Eleven in my mind. Maybe they need to call it 812. I don't know.
I mean, so you're saying if it's 7-Eleven and when you walk inside, it is a higher quality of food, of just the experience altogether, but there's still a homeless guy out front. That's it. You're not with it.
Okay. Let's put it this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, Food for Less is a subdivision of Ralph's. Okay, when you see a Ralph's, you expect a certain level, okay?
Yes.
And no disrespect to Food for Less, but it is a lower quality. And Food for Less is usually in the lower economic means neighborhoods.
To the hood, yes.
It's a discount grocery store, for lack of a better phrase. But still, you don't see Food for Less and necessarily associate Ralph's or vice versa. I think the same needs to be done here. If you're going to revamp the whole idea of 7-Eleven, you got to call it something else. You got it.
I'm not mad at that. But it's going to be tough. That's a lot.
It is. And I'm quite sure smarter people than me have already gone through these different scenarios. But like, for example, if you go to a Ralph's and you see hookers in front of a Ralph's, like Mark's.
Oh, they're not just in front of it.
Oh, they're behind, aren't they?
They're ahead of me in line.
They're what of you in line?
Ahead of me in line.
Oh, in front of you. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying.
Okay. Hey. Hookers got to eat.
No. I misunderstood what you said.
I thought you were saying that
I understand.
they were
yes. Okay.
In the ahead of you in line.
I know you're whipping out the A material on a Friday. Keep going.
I didn't know.
We're just asking for clarification, all right? You had to take it there.
Asked and answered.
Did you say asked? Did you say asked?
Okay, my God.
Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
You're gonna have to change that jingle, okay? That's not a serious eatery, okay?
Eatery.
Well, that's what they want to turn it into.
So someday we could have date nights at 7-Eleven.
Yes.
Actually, that's what they're trying to. They want it to be a destination place for people to eat, specifically to eat. I don't know if it's still going to be connected to gas stations. I don't know if it's going to be connected to strip malls. I don't know if there's going to be standalone locations, but they want to change the whole concept of a 7-Eleven. And for me, I think you're going to have to completely eradicate what we know as 7-Eleven or call it something else. And yes, it would still be under the umbrella of 7-Eleven. Like you can go to a McDonald's and you see like those 5 different drinks at the soda machine, and you think you're drinking something else, but they're all owned by the Coca-Cola company. It might be one of those things. You have a premier brand or an upscale brand, and then you have the bargain basement brand, but you think you're drinking something else or frequenting some other establishment or supporting some other business, but it's actually all going to the same place.
I'm trying to picture the joy and gratitude on a nice lady's face when I say, hey, I thought we'd grab a bite to eat at 7-Eleven tonight.
Now, I don't know, Mark. Remember, we did report on this a couple months ago that 7-Eleven, they were also applying for a national liquor license so they could start selling wine and liquor and beer and stuff like that inside their facilities as they up their food options as well.
That's exactly what they need, and you'd have to drink it out of the paper bag, right?
I think some 7-Elevens can sell, they have like a wine and beer license, if I'm not mistaken, but not liquor.
Not liquor, but this is so that people can be in there. They want to change.
Yeah, they want
you to be able to come in and drink and experience. So drinking,
like tables,
food, dining tables.
Yeah. So when you take your date, you can tell her, honey, I ordered us the very best bottle of Mad Dog 2020.
Do they still make Mad Dog 2020?
I sure hope so.
Thunderbird?
Thunderbird.
What's the word? It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640.
Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
At the top of the show, I was talking about my different views on politics, not my personal politics, and I made mention of immigration methods and tactics as far as how we enforce it. Got to tell you about the bill which was recently passed by California lawmakers when we come back, which bans masks and requires law enforcement to show their faces and, if need be, identify themselves. Clearly, that's going to change the enforcement of immigration here in California. We'll talk about that next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Mr. Mo Kelly. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and we often talk about ICE, the raids. My usually entry point is how it's being done, what's being done, what we were promised in advance. Whether you support then candidate Trump, he ran on the idea that they were going to go after the gang members, the criminals, and so forth. It didn't turn out that way. What we've been experiencing, and there are a lot of people who are listening right now, it's like, yeah, I'm for this. This is what I voted for. No, it's not exactly what you voted for. You're cool with how it's going down, but you didn't vote for this because it was not explicit that it was going to go down this way. So you can't tell that lie. But we do know that it's morphed into something else, how the immigration raids are being conducted as far as the Home Depots, as far as the schools, going to round up people who are at their court appointments as far as immigration appointments, going about it the right way. And I have an issue with that. When you have people who are going about it the right way and you're deporting them, it's like, well, then it's not about people illegally coming to this country. You have people who are going about it legally, and you're still deporting them. That is something completely different. That means you just don't want those people here. And how the immigration raids are being played out as far as different cities, different communities, don't tell me they're using the same tactics to get everyone who is undocumented here in the United States, or more specifically Southern California, you're not approaching this the same way. When I see the same type of tactics being used in all communities, then we can have another conversation about that. That's when I say, like, I am all for legal immigration. But when you go to these types of tactics and you're hiding your face and you're not identifying yourself and you're actually running down the street and tackling people while hiding your face and not identifying yourself, that's a completely different discussion. So it's about right and wrong. Yeah, you want to talk about legal and illegal, then you have to take into account when people are going about it legally, or the types of tactics which are being used, which may be borderline illegal. To that end, California lawmakers passed Senate Bill 627, which is called the No Secret Police Act. And it now prohibits on-duty law enforcement officers from covering their faces. And this has to do with local, it has to do with state, and also has to do with federal. Will it be challenged on the federal level? Yeah, there'll probably be a lawsuit, but we haven't gotten there yet. I'm just telling you where we are right now. The legislation wording applies, as I said, to local, state, and federal officers, and it includes federal immigration agents. That's tying into what I was talking about, ICE and their tactics. It does exempt SWAT teams and allows for medical and wildfire-related masks. Now, the question is whether ICE agents or different law enforcement agencies will abide by the law, and if not, then what, if anything, are the consequences? If we are about the business, and again, this is not my personal politics, I'm just saying what it is. If this country is about law and order, and if ICE is about getting the lawbreakers, in other words, anyone who is undocumented in the country has broken the law, if it is about that, the law can also change. And the laws still have to be followed, whether you agree with those changes or not. And the law at this moment says that law enforcement, local, state, federal, have to be unmasked and have to readily identify themselves on their uniform. Because I think about this all the time. And I've noticed, let me digress just very quickly. I notice that people are often okay with brutality and incivility when they know they'll never have to face it. You are fine, generally, with whatever happens in the ICE immigration raids if you know it's not going to happen to you. If you never have to put yourself in a situation where you might be approached by masked, armed men who want to put you in a van, not identify themselves, and willing to use physical force and wrestle you to the ground. The only way you would be okay with that, if you think or you know it could never happen to you. So we always talk about methods and tactics. The question is whether ICE will abide by the law. And the law is not subject to whether you like it or whether you agree with it. So there was a very famous Republican by the name of Donald Trump who said, we're a country of laws. If we're not a country of laws, we don't have a country. Okay, let's apply that then. The law says that law enforcement is going to have to not only readily identify themselves, in other words, it has to be on their uniform. They cannot cover their faces. I think often, and I can't speak for you, Twala, I always think, we talk about self-defense and protecting ourselves in dangerous situations. And I've always said you have to think about a situation before it happens. In other words, if I were to be approached at a gas station or carjacked, we talk about places you should go or should not go to maximize your safety. And you have to think about unsafe situations before they happen. Because if you haven't, after they've happened, you have no idea of what you want to do or what you should do or what you should do to prevent it. I have to think about if I'm in a situation and I'm an American citizen. I have to think about if I'm approached by a bunch of masked men, armed, unidentifiable. You know, there's no outward insignia saying that they're with ICE or anything like that. How am I supposed to respond? How would my wife respond? Because let's not forget, the Supreme Court just ruled that basically it's a laissez-faire. They can use any and all attributes of a person, and they can approach and profile, my word, as they see fit. And I know what profiling means for me as an African-American man in America. I know what it's like to be pulled over unnecessarily. Okay? So I have to actively think as an American citizen about the prospect, because they've been deporting Africans.
Yes.
I have to think about the possibility of being approached, even wrongly, by ICE agents who are masked, who are not identifying themselves. How would I respond? And the only people who would be okay with stuff like this, if you know back in your mind, in the back of your mind, that it would never happen to you. It would never happen to your child. It would never happen to your wife. It would never happen to your grandfather. Because we all know the moment that everyone is subject to this type of treatment, ish would change.
Well, bottom line is this entire farce that we are dealing with, it is nowhere near what anyone thought it was going to be. It has become something entirely different. It has become something wholly perverted on the surface of just what it is. And you and I both know people, and we've seen this, people have used this lawlessness by alleged agents to approach individuals and have had no affiliation with any law enforcement agency whatsoever. So if you or I see someone coming at us with masks and no badges, no identification, nothing, how do I know that you're not someone that's just sent to just take me out? I don't know, because you're not identifying yourself as an officer of the law, as a member of ICE. Something I can say, okay, you're LAPD. I will stop and listen to you. Yes, I'll give you my full
LAPD, they're supposed to identify themselves.
Yes, LA Sheriff, I see you coming. I'm giving you my full attention and respect. But just some dude in a mask, how do I know you're not Dean Cain on your way home from basketball practice?
Hey, he is an actual ICE agent now.
Did he pass? Did he pass that test? I don't know.
Look, he would never lie. Dean Cain, I played basketball against him. He seems to be a straight up guy.
Okay.
As if one has anything to do with the other. We got to carry this over to the next segment because I got more to say about this, but I want to leave you with this to think about during the break. Do you know, and this is semi-rhetorical, do you know that most people who are here undocumented in the United States are people who've overstayed their visas? And that's not Latino. It would be different if ICE were going, because you can find out there is an actual verifiable list of people who've overstayed their visas, and you can go knock on their doors and you will find that there's a cross section across all ethnic communities as far as people who've overstayed their visas and who are by law designation breaking the law here illegally. They're not going after those individuals. So it says to me, it's not about the law. It's about the specific people that you're choosing to target. That's not politics. That's not my politics. That's just about right and wrong. If you're not equally enforcing the law, irrespective of the lawbreakers, then there's something wrong with that. Then you're not actually enforcing the law. Like if you're only going to enforce people who break the speeding law every Wednesday, or when you only see a blue car, you're not enforcing the law.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI's Later with Mo Kelly. Live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. And I just want to put a period on this discussion of this new law in which law enforcement, local, state, federal, will not be allowed to wear masks to obscure, I can't say their identity because it doesn't mean they're going to wear a name plate, but they can't hide their faces and they will have to wear some identifying insignia or at least identify themselves when asked. And I was making the point last segment, the people who are cool with all the masks and the lack of identification, I say are the people who would never have to deal with it. Imagine, let me just flip this. We've been talking about, I should say, in general, news has been discussing the follow home robberies, the burglaries and Encino. Imagine for a moment you live in Encino and 5 people come up to you wearing masks, armed, legitimately armed, presenting themselves as law enforcement and not identifying themselves. What would you do? What are you supposed to do? See, that's the difference, because I don't think many people have actually thought about it in personal terms. And if you haven't thought about it in personal terms, there obviously is a belief that it can't happen to you, that it won't happen to you. And honestly, for me, just for me, this is all too reminiscent and close to what was going on in New York with stop and frisk. And if you don't know what stop and frisk was, which was ruled unconstitutional, the way they were doing it is they could just see anyone, and if they think that you might have something on you, be it drugs or weapon or something, they could stop you, pull you aside, search you, go in your pockets and that kind of thing. And strangely enough, just black and brown people, by and large, and that's why it was ruled unconstitutional. So I have to look at the ICE raids through that same prism, that same lens. The folks who are okay with this are the folks who don't have to worry about ever being bothered by this. If you should happen to live in Encino and you're worried about burglaries, I get it. Now imagine if someone were to come up to you with armed and they're wearing masks. Are you going to assume that they're law enforcement? Or are you just assuming, well, they can't be here for me because I'm not undocumented? This is very dangerous. I should say has been very dangerous, because anytime you have armed individuals who will not identify themselves, who have the power to quote unquote arrest people, you are inviting criminals to masquerade. You are inviting bad actors to take advantage of their anonymity. And people are going to get hurt and people are going to get killed. And if you don't worry about that, if you're not concerned with that, I happen to believe you think that it would never happen to you. You don't think that would happen to your child. You don't think it would happen to anyone in your family. And I know for a fact that it could very well happen to me or people I care about, people who are in my family. I have a multicultural family. And if you would look at a lot of my family members, you wouldn't know their ethnic history at all. You would not know. And I don't know what to tell my sons to do if multiple armed men came up to them and tried to arrest them or abduct them, my word, without showing their faces, without showing a warrant, without verifying that there is reasonable suspicion that they're undocumented. What am I supposed to tell them? Because they are then in danger, either from an actual ICE agent or a would-be criminal. KFI AM 640, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
KFI and KOST HD2, Los Angeles, Orange County. More stimulating talk.